distinguished ministers, Mr. Secretary General, Assistant Secretary General, excuse me, heads of delegations, Madam Lala Malika Yusufa, First Lady of the Republic of Niger. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to at the onset salute you all with my most heartfelt emotions and thank you for coming to Istanbul in order to attend the first session of the OIC Ministerial Conference on Social Development. May Allah's compassion, benevolence, and abundance be upon you. I hope and pray that this meeting will yield the most auspicious results for the entire Islamic Ummah and the entire human race. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank everyone involved in the realization of this event this morning, primarily the Republic of Turkey Ministry of Family, Labor, and Social Services. Yesterday, at the high-level public and private investment conference, we've enjoyed getting together with our brothers and sisters coming from different parts of the Islamic world. And previously, we have conducted the 35th ministerial session of COMSEC within the framework of the OIC. And it gives me great pleasure to be able to state once again that Istanbul is proudly hosting several meetings under the roof of the OIC, and this meeting will hopefully yield the most auspicious result for everyone involved. Unfortunately, 1/4 of the global population consists of Muslims. However, the Muslims have not yet achieved the high level of social, economic, and cultural development, lacking the much required political influence as well. The very foundation of the current global development was laid in the Islamic world. That's why we have to find a way to efficiently analyze the reasons as to why Muslims are facing the challenges that they do in this day and age, so that we will be able to garner prospective solutions for the outstanding problems. Or else, we will only confine our achievements down to complaining, down to suffering, and we will do nothing but talk and repeat ourselves. And there will be no way out if we expect the solutions to be produced by others around us. In order to assume this responsibility of bringing the Islamic civilization to the next level, we have to devote ourselves as the Muslims to this outstanding goal and aspiration. We have to find a way to focus on our discrepancies, and we have to garner the power that we have as the members of the Islamic community, reaching 1.7 billion people. Our organization, unfortunately, has not yet achieved the level of influence and efficiency that we have been desiring, but this is a possibility that we need to take into consideration. The Islamic world is suffering in the hands of significant challenges. Some of the Islamic Ummah are suffering in the hands of tyrants and oppressors who are not paying any attention to their suffering and to their complaints. And some of the Islamic countries are in the grasp of violence and terrorism. And most of the Islamic nations are very much intertwined. However, they are so isolated and they're introverted, continuously lagging behind and missing the vessel of progress and social development. Should we gather together in full unity and fraternity, we will be able to achieve the level of progress and advancement that we all seem to need. There are many great examples around the world of social development and progress, so there is not a single reason as to why we might fail in that direction. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad once stated, quote, "All of the Muslims are different organs, are different limbs of the same body." So long as that is the situation, if we are the limbs of a single body or a single organism, we have to move in full in sync and in full harmony. If a body in your if an organ in your body would stop working properly, your entire body would suffer just because of that reason. That's why we have to heal ourselves, and we have to move toward the same direction in full harmony and in full commitment. At the very foundation of our struggles lie the cause of Al-Quds. And unfortunately, the situation in Al-Quds is going worse as time goes by, as the State of Israel recognizes no international law or rights and fundamental liberties of the Palestinians. In the recent times, some of the countries around the world have been daring enough to illegitimately recognize Al-Quds as the capital city of Israel. And the violation of the rights and the liberties of the Palestinians are skyrocketing in an unprecedented fashion. The children and women and elderly members of the Palestinian community are dying in the hands of Israeli soldiers, and this is the landscape that we are unfortunately observing on a daily basis. And it gives me great pain to announce that some of the Arab nations are unfortunately motivating and incentivizing the motives of the State of Israel. Sometimes we're launching an appeal to the global community about the violations taking place in Palestine, but we are always left alone in our struggle. We are trying to maintain our very principled approach and resolute stance vis-à-vis the Palestinian question. We are usually alone in our struggle. Regardless of that fact, we will keep on being by the side of the feeble, by the side of the weak and the oppressed. We will never give up on our stance to defend the rights and the liberties of the Palestinians. We will always be by the side of the weak and the feeble and the oppressed. Similarly, in Kashmir, in Turkestan, in Arakan, we are observing certain negative developments impacting the Muslim communities deeply. And there is Islamophobia that is on the rise around the world. Some of the challenges that we observe are directly impacting the fundamental rights and the liberties of the Muslims around the world, and sometimes those challenges are impacting their livelihood and impacting their health and well-being. Regardless of the origin, the challenges seem to always impact the Muslims. Are they attacking our mosques? Yes. What is happening to the Muslims wherever they are spotted? They are being killed, aren't they? But how much further are we going to remain silent and indifferent? If we remain silent, if we keep on being spectators to these developments, if we don't do anything with our hands, we have to do something with our tongues. If we can't change anything with our tongues, we have to look deeply into our hearts and assume this responsibility to rise up to this challenge. Because this is a responsibility that we have to assume, or else we will fail and they will keep on battering us until the very end. Some terrorist organizations are mere projects, and they're associating themselves with our beautiful religion, and they're using the word Islam to acknowledge their motives. A couple of days ago, you have heard the president of France Mr. Macron associating terrorism with Islam and using the definition Islamic terrorism. I've repeatedly stated this following fact all around the world in every platform. The name Islam is a derivative of the prefix Slam, and Slam means peace. So a religion which is known for its peaceful nature can never be associated with terrorism. But only last week, when we were attending the NATO summit in London, he used the very same definition. But what happened? There were the protesters in France, Gilets jaunes. What happened to them? They cannot be stopped. They are still protesting on the streets in Paris, in Champs-Élysées. Why are they not settling their differences with the government? Please do not make people suffer, or else at the end you will suffer yourself. This is a rough translation of a very well-known Turkish expression. It's our duty to rise up to the occasion wherever it is around the world to help and extend a helping hand to the Muslims and to the feeble, to the oppressed, to the va-nu-pieds. We have to go and extend a helping hand to our brothers and sisters in Europe, in Africa, and in the United States. The future rests in us, and I wholeheartedly believe in this. These attacks will never stop us from rising, from enjoying this resurrection, this revival, which will bring us to the level that we deserve. If we let our brothers and sisters shed a single tear, if we leave them in the grasp of suffering and tyranny, then we will not be able to go to bed in peace at night. We have to help all of our brothers and sisters, as it's an obligation that we have to assume, to make sure that all of our brothers and sisters are living in dignified circumstances. That's why we have to convert OIC into a politically influential organization. Just like we did everything within our capability during our tenure as the term president, we will keep on rising up to the occasion and pursue our goals in the future. But we need the devotion, we need the commitment of our brothers and sisters in the entire Islamic Ummah. If we rise up to the occasion, if we achieve our targets, a new dawn will break for each and every one of us. And I wish from Allah to bestow upon you that bounty and that beautiful era. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the state-of-the-art principles of our religion is family. The communities whose features are challenged in this day and age, we see that their familial structures are falling apart. No money in the world, no funds, no incentives will help those countries revive their families, as the foundation of those families are falling apart. As the Islamic countries, we have to own up to our families in a very committed fashion in order to ensure a brilliant future for each and every one of us. Primarily my country and your countries exclusively, we have a great obligation to assume and to cater to. If we want a safe and a secure future, we have to strengthen and empower the families first and foremost. And in order for that to be possible, we have to repel the biggest threat vis-a-vis the health of the families around the world, which is domestic violence. We have to eradicate domestic violence once and for all so that we can build a strong motherdom and a strong generation. As the Muslims, we have to protect each and every one of our children. A Muslim is a person whose words are trusted by everyone around them. A Muslim is a trustworthy individual. They can become your confidants. And we love the created due to the Creator. There's no discrimination on the basis of the whites, the blacks, Arabs, or Africans. We do not acknowledge such a discrimination on the basis of ethnicity and religion and culture. Our beloved Prophet once stated the following, quote, "We love the created due to the Creator, regardless of how they look and regardless of how they walk." This is what differentiates ourselves from the rest of the global community. This is the most beautiful deed of the Islamic religion. The United States is usually labeled as the most advanced community in the world. But we know that only 5 decades ago, even today, the blacks are being discriminated against in a very striking fashion. But this does not exist in the Islamic Ummah. This is our strength that we need to build our revival upon. And in full unity, in full solidarity, and in harmony, we can rise up to the occasion and we can emerge as a strong community once again. As the Islamic Ummah, we do not depend on our natural resources to be strong, but instead we rely on our young and dynamic populations, because they are the ones who will be the architects of a brilliant future for each and every one of us. All together, if we commit ourselves to this goal, we can bring up the future generations in a very principled fashion. We have to own up to the disabled members of the community, the elderly members of the society, and our children if we want to protect our families. Social media, television, and the internet, their content originating in the Western cultures are unfortunately eroding our principles and eroding our values. We have to do something in order to counteract. We have to fill in every gap. We have to fill in every gap and every void if we want to protect our children against the negative influence of the Western cultures. We have the will, we have the power, and we have to sit down together to discuss what we need to do. And we have to immediately, in a very expeditious fashion, implement our project for our blessed revival. Due to the conflict, due to the tensions and terrorism around the world, millions of children have been orphaned. And you are quite aware of the situation in the field in Syria or in Somalia, in Sudan, in Iraq, and in Iran. We know what's been going on. The situation, similarly in Palestine, is out there for you to see. Brothers and sisters, please pay attention. These tensions are taking place only in the Islamic world. This is what they are trying to provoke in order to divide and conquer Islamic countries. This is the paragon, this is the beacon of the imperialistic motive. Children are being displaced, and they're taken to countries where they are being brought up in a very unwanted fashion. And they're falling in the hands of criminal organizations, primarily drug dealers and traffickers. As Muslims, we have to embrace what was entrusted in us by our previous ancestors, brothers and sisters. It is our duty to protect our children. If they get lost in vain, that is our fault. That will be our biggest mistake that we have to be accountable for. And we have to announce a huge mobilization around the Islamic world in order to protect the family and children. The developments that we are facing in this day and age require us to revise our social policies. A state ignoring the social responsibilities entrusted in her will never prevail, will never progress. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad once stated, quote, "It is not one of us, it is not one of the Muslims if he can go to bed while knowing that their neighbors are still hungry and starving." This is a guiding light for each and every one of us as we're trying to survive in cities and in urban areas, the populations of which are expanding in an unprecedented fashion. We have to extend a helping hand to our neighbors if we know that they are in dire need. The social state principle should be revived and implemented, and thanks to our foundations and the NGOs in Turkey, we are doing everything we can within our capabilities in order to ensure and motivate, encourage solidarity and cooperation. We are one of the states around the world proud of social responsibility project that we have been implementing since we took over the office. We have healthcare services available for the elderly free of charge, and we have a social security scheme that is applicable to all of the individuals who are a part of the working life until retirement, including the refugees and including the asylum seekers in Turkey. We have a very wide blanket of social security and accessible health care. Last year, we have provided health care and social aid to more than 12 million inhabitants in the Republic of Turkey, worth $40 billion. We have been expanding this scheme in order to access the most underprivileged members of our society, and we are extending a very generous help to the disabled members of the community. We have home care services available for the disabled members of the society, and we are providing access to labor, especially for the disabled members of the community, so that they will not feel isolated and they will not feel ignored. We have a great confirmation pointing out to the fact that a very limited amount of elderly members of the society still reside in shelters and healthcare centers. They are mostly staying with their family members as they age, and I think that is still a strong proof of the resilience of the Turkish family. We are hosting 4 million refugees in Turkey, and we are ranking #1 on a global scale in terms of the humanitarian aid we have provided compared to the GDP and humanitarian aid ratio. The refugees in Turkey can have access to healthcare services without any discrimination whatsoever, as if they were natural aliens. Until so far, we have spent more than $40 billion for the care of the refugees. The EU previously pledged 3 plus 3 equals 6 billion euros, but unfortunately we have only received 3 billion euros. The illegal refugees in Turkey have been extradited once their paperwork was complete, and 370,000 refugees settled back in their homelands voluntarily. Within the first phase, between Ras Ul Ain and Tel Abyad, 380,000 citizens can be repatriated, and towards the end of the Peace Spring operation, we have clearly stated that more than 1 million refugees could be easily extradited and repatriated in their motherlands upon their own will. We can conjure up a project for the construction of new homes in order for them to get resettled. We had launched an appeal to the international leaders, but unfortunately, other than just a single one, no leader around the world provided concrete support to our intentions. Half of the Syrians in our country are below the age of 18. This draws a landscape which is, unfortunately, unsustainable. There are many European countries which are much well off than us. They are closing their borders to the face of the refugees, but we are opening our arms, opening our doors wide, and we are sharing our livelihood with them. We are assuming a burden of almost more than 9 million immediate refugees around our region who are on the brink of displacement as a result of escalating tensions. We will keep on providing all sorts of support to the refugees in need and to the elderly members of our society, including the disabled members of the society, children, and families. Brothers and sisters, we are doing everything we can as we deem these projects as obligations and significant responsibilities. We are honored to host the first session of OIC Ministerial Conference on Social Development here in Istanbul. Our exercises will provide resilience to social solidarity and cooperation. We will be there for you, and we will do everything we can within our capability to provide all sorts of support to you, to your endeavors. We need to mobilize our social structures as we deem this platform to be a significant opportunity in order for that to be possible. The social threats that the families face require expeditious solutions to be conjured up. And I think we need to make the utmost use of this platform in order to respond to the dire needs of the people around us. Republic of Turkey, Ministry of Family, Labor and Social Services will be responsible for the coordination of our efforts. We need best practices to be showcased. We need the sharing of know-how. And within the framework of these endeavors, I'm sure we will find ourselves in a very harmonious environment of cooperation, solidarity, and commitment. And I would like to launch an appeal to you. About a week ago, in Albania, an earthquake with a magnitude of 6.4 on a Richter scale shook the country to its very core. As a result of this natural disaster, unfortunately, 51 civilians were killed, and I would like to extend my most heartfelt condolences to their family members. Hundreds of Albanian citizens were also harmed. City of Durres in Albania has been almost completely destroyed. President Edi Rama was here in Istanbul to attend the private public sector conference of the OIC. And he had delivered a very lengthy speech illuminating us about the scale of the disaster that took place in Albania. And as I have previously stated, we are the limbs of the same body, and we have to extend a helping hand to our brothers and sisters who are in Albania. As of the first minute in the aftermath of this huge disaster, we have mobilized our disaster relief agency and dispatched food, garments, and medical equipment to Albania. And we had pledged to build 500 housing units in Albania. The teams from the Ministry of Urban Development is currently in Albania, and they are heavily invested in the production of housing units in Albania. It is the winter times. That's why we have to be very expeditious in the implementation of our projects. We will keep on providing them tents in order for them to be sheltered, although temporarily, under these dire circumstances. This is a meeting where we're talking about family and social services, and I thought that it would be most suitable and proper for me to discuss the endeavors we have been busy with, especially in Albania. And I would like to ask you ever so kindly to extend a helping hand to our Albanian brothers and sisters as well. I hope and pray that our social policies will be erected upon very strong and robust foundations as a result of your deliberations. I would like to thank you for your candor, your commitment, and your resolve. I would like to thank each and every one of you, the distinguished representatives of your nations, on behalf of my personal self and on behalf of the Turkish nation. This morning, I have been letting on a new development that I'd like to share with you. According to the report on social development and progress, Turkey started to rank number 52 amongst 186 countries on a global scale in terms of social progress and development. So Turkey, in an unprecedented fashion, achieved to become a part of the league of the most socially developed nations on a global scale. Esselamu Aleyküm ve Rahmetullah ve Berekatuhu.
Türkiye Cumhuriyeti Cumhurbaşkanı Sayın Recep.
We would like to thank the President of the Turkish Republic, Mr. Tayyip Erdoğan, for his address.
Sayın Cumhurbaşkanım, zat-ı devletlerinizin müsaadenizle bir süre daha